Aloha. Today is October the 23rd at 12:01 p.m. here on the big island of Hawaii. And I wanted to chit chat about something that I have going on and with me during my integration process. And I process so much of what goes on with me in private and internally. I don't know if that's like part of my cancer shell, crab shell energy, where I retreat or I internalize and process so much, and sometimes it just gets to be too much. And I find that whenever I open up and speak to someone around me, or I use this avenue of sharing, it helps to get it out. So it doesn't have to always be stuck and revolving in here, because that's what happens sometimes when we process so much in here. It can really just like stay in there, versus like when we talk with someone else, we can get it out, plus have that divine mirror to channel with, to have aha moments and things like that. So back in March of this year, my antenna signal of my vessel, my brain, and all of that apparently had a pretty large upgrade. And I started receiving download, like I started hearing more direct communication from the multidimensional space, so much so that, the guardians, the beings, they use my, they even talk to me by my name. And it's been interesting. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, The Host, or read the book, The Host. I highly recommend it, because it's exactly what's happening right now. The fact that I've come to realize that the voice that I've been listening to in my head most of my life really isn't me like I thought, because that voice now talks to me by using my name and talks to the other beings in my mind. So I hear these conversations happening, and I'm an intuitive, I'm a medical intuitive also. So it's part of my channel that I get lots of different drop-in messages for people and myself and all kinds of things. The spectrum in which I receive is broad. And sometimes it doesn't always feel so great. Sometimes I hear things I don't like, and I have experiences that don't feel comfortable to me. And it can be really brutal sometimes, deciphering what's real, what's not real, what's going to become a reality, where am I picking up these messages from, who are they for? And I guess I suppose I'm still going through some more mastery, because when it comes in, I get stuck in it sometimes and forget that I pick up an etheric web of open channel. And not all the messages are for me, yet it feels so triggering to me. And so last night I had one of these experiences, and I hear certain things that don't feel great sometimes, and I can swat them away pretty well. But sometimes last night it was for a few hours, and I really struggled. I call it going down the rabbit hole, where I go so deep that I'm there experiencing this like underworld type energy, and I'm picking up on conversations are happening in my mind, which are really tough. And it's a lot of conspiracy stuff, what I perceive as being directed at me. And it really freaks me out, because it's like, sometimes it does, because it's like I realize, a little bit of the majestic properties that I'm channeling, and that triggers me to think about the elite systems and being targeted. Who knows where all this comes from. I didn't experience this kind of conspiracy paranoia before I activated, so I know there is some sort of like nervous system. There's a nervous system attunement happening, and it really affects my psyche. So sometimes I wonder if it's coming from a place of past life, or I'm picking up signals from places and things and people that, I have no idea. And so last night, it got so difficult for me that, and I was feeling so much fear in those moments, that I got the idea channeled thought. That's what they all are. We're not actually thinking, we're listening. And so I picked up the notebook and I started writing some of these things down because I thought, if these things are going to come true for me, I better put them out there so people know that it's not a reality. And so I wanted to I wrote down some things that I was hearing. And I want to just share with you some of the things I go through. And the reason why I decided to do this and to open up more about some of these things, the darker side of the shadow work, is because I know I'm not the only one going through this stuff. And there's a huge, like I woke up this morning and I felt so much clearer. My eye color has changed and my eyes changed from blue to green anyway. They're hazel, but this is different. Even my friend William that was walking around in the background was like, wow, he was like, you look so much younger. Your eyes are so different. The whites of your eyes are so clear. It's like you cleared some energy last night. And I was like, no shit. Like, and then my neighbor comes over and tells me that she was woken. She lives across the lava, she's cosmic too. And she told me that she was woken up and could smell like some weird stuff. And then there was an earthquake that occurred. So last night was a really interesting night. And I've had these dark night of the soul rabbit hole moments using psychedelics occasionally in the last couple of years. There's been a couple times when I've used cannabis where I've gotten to that place of hearing those things. And while I'm completely sober. So I know it's a tweaking of the antenna signal. And so I want people to know that you're not alone. You're not crazy. We're having spikes. And so one of the things I thought about last night, and while all this insanity was playing out in my mind, I thought, wow, am I having some sort of like dopamine spike? Where, I don't know if you have ever studied what the human diagnosis of schizophrenia is, but it means that there's a high level of dopamine, that those people are picking up the antenna signals from other dimensions. Well, that's what's happening to me anyway, and I don't have that diagnosis. And I know a lot of you are experiencing this too. And so last night I was like, whoa, where are these voices coming from? Is this like a super spike in dopamine? So I'm having the trouble of seeing the difference between these alternate realities that are playing out in my mind while I'm here in this conscious space on earth. So I realize that this is more part of my mastery. I'm attuning to these frequencies, which I'm now starting to pick up the channels for. And so part of me, my human, right, my programming of what I've known up to this point gets triggered, and I feel fearful that I'm going to get stuck in that place, fearful that the things that are saying are going to come true. I go through it because I realize my program is being rewritten. Like my DNA is being upgraded. I have become a new human so many times since 2016, especially. Like, I don't even, like, my past life in this life, I barely even recognize the person I was then. Everything has changed so much about my program and the way I engage. And so I wrote down some things last night and I wanted to read them to you. I've read them a few times myself, just going back over reading and analyzing this and just recognizing that it's just really bizarre. Okay, so I'm going to start with number 1 and just read through a couple little pages of some things I wrote down because it's quite interesting. So this had already been going on for like 2 hours and I finally decided to try to lay down. I laid down to see if I could meditate to go to sleep. And it still continued to the point where I would just get up out of bed and just be like, and I would just like walk around, sit on the floor, just like whatever I could do to move myself out of that mental space. And then that's when I laid back down that I got to the idea channel to pick up a notebook and start writing. And what's really bizarre is that the night before last, I got the message to keep a notepad and a pen next to the bed. And then last night where I'm writing all this down, they said, bing, remember when we told you to get a pen and pad? Well, this is why. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So this is what I heard. I heard a bunch of things before this, but this is when I started writing them down. The first thing I heard is that a walk-in entity possession is going to step inside of my body to commit or be involved in a murder. Mentioned me grabbing a knife and cutting someone up. then the step-in is going to leave my body, and my normal state of consciousness is going to resume as it was before the step-in occurred. The voice continued to say that I would have to plead insanity to give myself some time to show the psychiatrist in the mental ward proof of what's happening through me in the normal state of me channeling. Then a movie will be made about this, and that they are going to make a lot of money off of me. That's the first thing I heard. Well, that's not the first thing I heard. This was like in the third hour, and I was already so swirling deep in the rabbit hole. I was just like, so that's the first thing I heard. The second thing I heard is that they've put a parasite in my brain, and they're controlling me with it until I go crazy. And that triggered me because I feel so much in my brain. I feel movement constantly. I feel my eyes moving constantly. I feel a lot going on in my brain, a lot of which I don't talk about always publicly. And it's because my brain signal is so activated with all this. So that's part of what I heard, that they're going to keep, that it's the parasite that they're using to control. And then the third thing I heard is I started hearing the words, please remove this spell, please remove this spell, please remove this spell over and over again in my mind. I was like, wow. I kept getting messages that there's some kind of like hex or curse on my avatar or something for the stuff that's happened in past lives. That's some of the thing I was hearing. So then the fourth thing that I heard was that you thought 2020 was going to be the best year of your life. Well, it's the start of a decade of hell for you, and then things will get better. I was like, wow. And then I wrote down that I hadn't said that 2020 is going to be the best year of my life. I said that this year that I turned 40 was opening up a gateway, and that 2020 was going to be even more amplified of that. So it's like they use the trickery in some way in these states. So then number 5 is I heard right after I wrote that, they said everything that I write down is cursed. So any manifest, anything I write down is cursed. The 6th thing I heard, I couldn't recall. The 7th thing I heard was that there was a wiretap in my brain. The 8th thing that I heard was that I have congenital heart failure, that I'm going to have a heart attack, and then I'm going to have a heart transplant. And that is when my avatar is going to switch because of the new neurons that is going to come in from the heart replacement. And I was having all this discomfort stuff on the left side of my chest, which I had back in 2017 on the date 12/21, when I got the awareness of what kind of channel or healer I am. I started doing healing on myself on this side, and last night it got triggered again, and I was feeling it physically. So it was really wild. So then, let's see. The 9th thing I heard was that I heard, none of this is coming true. A novel. You're writing a novel, and we're going to help you. A conspiracy movie will be made. The next thing I heard was start writing things down from here on out. And then I heard, happy birthday. This is the start of your writing career. And then the next thing I heard is I began hearing that the elite will come after me because they will want to know how I know what's really happening based on what I write in this book. And then I'm going to get rich off of the book and the movie. And then the elite, they're going to kill me off by shooting me in the back of the head. And then I was hearing something like, the elite, they're going to come and kidnap me for blood sacrifice and sex rituals, and they're going to torture me for the things I've done in the past life, and that they've been tracking me for years. And then I also heard that I have a wiretap, I heard this again, a tiny tracking device in my head. And then I heard that none of what I'm hearing is true again. And then I heard that someone is going to report me for a murder because they saw me at the time it happened. And then that's when I was like, okay, it's time to close the book. And at that point, I was able to go to sleep. This went on for 3 hours. And I kept thinking, like, while I was just sitting there listening to all this stuff, I was like, get up, get out of this train of thought, get up, move this energy. And, I got to the point where I became quite fearful and at times. And at the same time, I'm just like, wow, listen to all this. Listen, like, what is all this? Like, what reflection of this is this? Where is this coming from? How much of this is true? How much of it is not true? And so it's like, even though I have such a strong intuitive guide of things I know that are solid, especially when I'm channeling for other people and I'm doing medical intuitive stuff, what I go through in my own mind is like this sometimes. And I'm not quite sure why I'm still being affected this way in my mind and in my channel, because my guides talk to me in such beautiful ways that are so encouraging and so loving and just all these amazing ways. And then there are these times where this like shadow energy comes in, and I feel like I'm probably picking up on some stories that are true in some way, somewhere in the ether, somewhere in a timeline, I don't know. And then sometimes I think that maybe it's just all fake. These are stories that we've been fed, I don't know. And so it can become really difficult to that's why it's important to take the things that come in with a grain of salt, because I wasn't hearing these types of voices. I wasn't hearing this type of thing before I got activated and my sensitivity started being upgraded of my nervous system. And so now I'm picking up energy and I'm channeling in all different kinds of directions, not just the mudras I show you in video, but there's a whole side of me that those that are close to me in the physical know about. And and so, I've been going through this ascension, this awakening process, and learning to be super gentle to myself and nurturing and learning to step outside of not taking life so seriously. So much so that, I've become this like, it happens in my mind so much. So if I'm doing all this internal work not to take it all seriously, then, naturally the outside world isn't going to be taken so seriously either. So it's like finding a balance of where to put our energy and what to believe and what to know is truth or not. I don't know anything, I like to think I know a little bit, and I share what I know, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm just like, man, we don't really know anything, do we? So, I share these experiences, that I go through in different ways with different people. And I find that the more open I am about it all and share these things, the less triggering it becomes for me, because it's outside of my mind. It's like, ooh, I was able to like dump this so I could have more peace in my mind. And it helps. It's like speaking more of the internal truths, even though it's all a facade. I mean, it's like, it's an interesting thing. So the fact that these, paranoid, conspiracy things come up in my mind, because I know that it's been happening for so long. Like, it really is a reality in our society. That's why the society has become the way it's become. We're all puppets in this mastery of the multidimensional space. And there are a group of puppets that have been doing things that have not been great for humanity for a really long time. And so, I realize that stuff is going on as well. So I know that that's where some of the triggering comes from. That's why I don't watch the news. I stay outside of the conspiracy videos. I went through all of that stuff, during my awakening, as much of us do, because that's the removal of the veil, right? We get the veil removed to realize that all of the things on the outside world we've been fed, well, I say all, but a lot of it has been an illusion. And we're waking up to the illusions. I mean, that's why we're all talking about this kind of stuff. So I definitely go through picking up these super dark, shadowy feeling, esoteric realms. And I hear they call themselves the Brotherhood when they talk to me. So I know I'm picking up on a group of entities somewhere that are doing this stuff, or else they wouldn't be telling me about it, right? Or not, who knows? That's the joy of not taking it all personally and talking about it, so it's not this like stigma or this, whatever can cause discomfort for us in our minds, because it's like, and of course, everything that I experience, I look at it as what kind of reflection is this for me to learn from? And what I learned is that there's still a fear of death in there that I have. And I didn't have that for a while. A couple of years ago, I was riding pretty good for about a year and a half or so, not fearing death at all. And I would have these images of me dying, and I would just feel so free, just diving off of cliffs, like knowing I was going to be falling to my death, and I was at peace. And so that changed for me. And I've been going through this whole another dark night of the soul with death. So much so that the voices in my head are telling me I'm going to pass out and have a heart attack, all the way to the elite coming to get me and a wiretap in my brain. Like, they're really pushing on me right now. And so I realized that this is part of the energy that we're receiving, and everything has a place. And so I don't push it away. Even though it triggers, me so much that I feel like I'm not sure I'm going to come back from that state of mind. I know that all is well and it's all divine. So I look at it as like, wow, okay, so what? So what if there are some elite people coming to get me? And what if they do have a parasite in my brain and they're tracking everything I'm doing to learn the magic I'm casting? So what? So what? What does all that mean? I hear that they're going to kidnap me and take me away to this place where there are other beings like myself that are channeling this like multidimensional magic. And that's where I'm going to be for the rest of my life, or that they're going to torture me like down in the bowels of whatever. Like, those things come in, and I'm just like, wow, that must be the level of magic I'm casting, because I'm getting this like extra dark reflection of it. Energy casting, we can call it magic or whatever we want. It's fun to create these mystical human terms, but really it's energy. But it's a for real thing. I channel it with other people, but I've been channeling collective energy, casting things that I'm not sure what they are for the last several years now. I just don't talk about that stuff online much because it freaks me out. I get scared sometimes thinking I'm going to be chased after because it's that next level. So I create these fun videos where I'm dancing around to music, but really it's next level, I know that a lot of you know what I'm talking about because you're going through this too. It's cool. We're opening up to the multidimensional space, and we're connecting more to that level. And of course there's going to be fear, right? I mean, we've got this programming that we've been fed for so long that aliens or ETs or the multidimensional beings are bad and they're out to get us. And, the movies and the magazine, the tabloids and the grocery store on the aisles. And we've been programmed for so long that this is all conspiracy. And it's not. Because we're all talking about it all over the world, I mean, it's like we're all watching and experiencing all of this space together. So it's like, can't deny us in numbers. So that brings me a lot of peace too. And so I share this so that some of you can have more peace too, so that you can know that you're not that you're not alone, and that the mind is a really trippy place to experience, especially when we're tuned into listening, right? That's where the mastery of the wizardry comes in. And so when you're tuned into listening and you're not, and you're able to like pay attention to what's going on in there, or you've been attuned so that you can see the attention that's going on in there, it's nice to understand to keep it light, even when it feels so heavy, because these are storylines we're picking up on. And it's easy to take it personally, especially like sometimes I get caught up in it, and it's not until a few minutes later where I come back out of it. I'm just like, I was in that space again. No, and I just dump it to the side and move on. There's all different kinds of spectrums. Sometimes there are extreme highs, and then sometimes the frequency goes to the low and pushes up what some of the darkest fears are. And apparently I've been going through a fear of death. And it's been wild too, because lately I've been feeling more at ease with it. I've even been singing lines out of songs the last 2 days. It's all about this body dying and all this stuff. And it's felt good for me to be singing it out loud. So then last night, it was time to take a dive down into the dark side. The dark side of the moon came out, and, I use it as strength. I mean, what else are we going to do with it? What else do we do with all this life, Continue to be in discord with the harmony of the vibration, or to harmonize with oneself to be more in attunement with source? Which side do we want to pick? Because really, even though all this stuff's going on, I can have high emotional intelligence, I can have super mindfulness, all of this stuff, and then there's still stuff going on in the mind. And so I find that the meditative state is to be able to come back full circle in any sort of situation, to be grounded and at peace without projecting that stuff out and taking it on so personally. I don't embrace any of that stuff I heard in my head. You know, even though it felt like it was so me, I realized that there's stories, just like the story I'm telling you now. This is all a story. So, I know that solar flares are happening right now too. I just posted about that a couple days. And then there was an earthquake here last night on the lava where I live. And so these are some really shifty times. I mean, we've been talking about this, or I've been talking about it since 2016 when I first got activated to start putting all this stuff on Facebook. I wasn't doing this before. I totally got programmed to start doing it, and to be part of the Disclosure Act, this full disclosure thing that's happening with this awakening and in the multidimensional space. So of course it can be fearful to step out and say, hey, I'm an activator. You know, my galactic being is here to activate other hybrids, because with an assistance to the cosmic energy that we're receiving. So many of you are too. Yes, happy Scorpio season, and I'm super stoked because my moon is in Scorpio. So, we just came into a whole new spectrum. Kay Pacha with the Pele Report, he put out a new video today. I watched it this morning where he's talking about so many planets moving to Scorpio today, and the full moon in 2 weeks or whenever it is going to be in Scorpio too. So we're going to have powerful energy this week, this month, these next few weeks. Actually, I think I said 8 weeks or something, or 9 weeks. Mercury is going to be in Scorpio too, or something. Really interesting. I'll post the link in the comments so you guys can watch Kai Pacha's video. So this is a very strong time right now, and I can feel it energetically in my body, and how it affects what's going on in here. So I'm able to forecast in some way. And Harley writes about shedding old timelines. Yeah, well, we've been shedding old timelines for a few years now. I mean, it's been almost 4 years since I activated in 2016 when the upgrading of my vessel and everything started. So, I've been riding this roller coaster for a minute. And last year was, I noticed last year was much more of a plateau, and this year has been like full steam ahead. And especially since August, we've been really upgrading. I see a lot of you really going through all kinds of different spectrums of what's going on. Some of us are receiving total cleansing of everything from our past life and this life, marriages, jobs, houses, cars. It's like the magic carpet's being pulled out from under a lot of people right now. And that's because when we're upgrading the multidimensional space with vibration, it clears out the old patterns of behaviors that we were going through in this other paradigm that we were in before this ascension started taking place in 2012. 2013 is when I remember started seeing 333 on the clock. So that's when I had like a ding. That's when I got activated, July of 2013. And so, it can feel like that this is like a really heavy time, and it is, because these frequencies are heavy and they're also light and really activating too. And so, we're all going through it in one way or the other because we're shedding old patterns, and the words and things that we hear in the psyche are some sort of a reflection. And one of the things I realized too is I ask this question out loud to people sometimes, because just to see what they'll say. And the answers have been really interesting. And it's one of the things I realized too. It's like, I hear these things going on in my channel, and I feel like it's not me. It's not a part of me. Yet in some way it is, because I've got all different kinds of vibrations, antenna signals in my body, just like you do. And the antenna signals are based differently on the organs of the body, how they're functioning. I mean, it really gets down that deep. The body is that divine. It's the mechanism of it's an antenna system. And so I realized that in the etheric web that we're in of consciousness, I'm picking up, and these things are coming to me for a reason, because it's law of attraction. My vibration is pulling them in, or I would not be experiencing them. Like, it's like that deep. Not only the humans that I'm connecting with, and the things that all these manifestations that are starting to come into my life right now, it's so beautiful. And yet, there's still this like dark night of the soul thing happening. And so I realized that while these things they may feel foreign to me, it may feel like my emotional intelligence is way past the things that I'm experiencing in my mind and my body, yet they're there. And there's a reason why these things are attracting to me. And so sometimes I have conversations with them, the voices, to say I'm not in resonance of this. Sometimes I ask them to leave, and sometimes I sit with it and allow myself to process what I'm feeling, so that I don't have to push it away or stifle it down, so that it can create more dis-ease in my body and in my brain. And it's helping. And I'm in these just supreme states of bliss so much with all of this magic and this energy and just all of this stuff that I'm feeling. Yet at the same time, it's like I'm going through it in my mind in ways I haven't had before in this lifetime. And I've gone through it, I've gone through it in this life, in my mind and in my physical experiences. So, I feel like those things have built the character in me to process what's going on now, because it's like, wow, I'm a pretty strong individual mentally to go through what's happening. And I know that I'm not the only one. All of you are going through it too. A lot of you, I say odd, I'm not going to use absolutes, but I feel like the majority of us are going through this, or have been recently, and it comes in waves. It's like we reach a plateau where things are great, and then there's a little dippy. And I feel like we can hit plateaus for longer periods of time when we learn that taking all of this so personally, and that it's actually a reality. I like to get into a place where I just stand still and let it just swirl around me, versus like embodying it all, because I realize it's there for a reason, and it has a presence and a purpose. Yet at the same time, I tell myself, you can go away. I don't want to experience this anymore. I want to experience in alignment with what feels good to me energetically, past all this triggering that's going on. But here we are, and here it is, and that's okay. It definitely is something to write about. So the things I read earlier in the video that I wrote down last night that was coming in channeled, it's got me thinking of an idea of, wow, like it is amazing to make a story about all of this and talk about it. So I still like the idea of making a documentary. And I'm thinking about what that would look like, and possibly getting ready to travel to the Philippines at the end or beginning of the year. I mentioned it before on Facebook, and I'll talk about it right now in this video. I have an opportunity to go to the Philippines and live in an eco-village with spiritual healers and medicine ceremonies and hosting events. It's all already set up. All I have to do is go there, and they will set everything up. And I thought, wow, they want me to come there and share my healing modalities with the healers that are already there. This is exactly what I've wanted to do. And I want to film it and document it. And so I would like to put a team of people together if anyone's interested in talking about going. I checked on airline flights last night, and starting to put the pieces together. I'm getting more information from those guys over in the Philippines, and this is just another beautiful adventure. So I was thinking about it'd be awesome if to have someone who could do filming and or possibly editing that could go, or that's already there, so that we can create this documentary. And I want to post it on YouTube to show what it's like to go to other countries and to see what other healers are doing and how people are evolving on this planet past all this elite channeled stuff that's coming in. And I know it's going to be powerful. I got so many downloads last night about all this too. So expansion, opening up, not staying stuck, continuing to move, because while resting, it's this interesting balance of going when it feels good and then taking time to rest. So I've been taking a rest day today. And that's why I wanted to hop on and share this, because the power of the mind is mighty, and the energy of this vessel is so significant that I really don't think any human really knows what's going on. Like maybe, but I'm not so sure. So that's why it's just fun to play in the multidimensional space and continue to help as much people as possible, because that's what feels best to me. Because when I get stuck in my mind, the one thing that comes up is, how can I help? How can I be of service? And then that moves past and teaches more compassion and love. It's a pretty good way to meditate, is to help other people. So lots of adventures are coming up. The Philippines, seeing what's going on with that. I've been shown some beautiful pictures over there. That seems like they've got a beautiful, great tribe, and they're doing things over there, and it's so great. And so that really excited me yesterday, seeing what that could look like and how that could work, and gathering more information. So if you're interested, check out some airline tickets from where you're from. I'll put in the comments what cities the airports are, just so that you can start getting some ideas, because they're open to me coming with a team of people, volunteers to help out and share healing modalities, and also they said I can earn money while I'm there too, not just trading, but also actually making money doing ceremonies and things like that. So, or trade in some way. So that's really exciting. This is yesterday was a really beautiful day of bringing in all of that. Breath, right? The breath is so powerful. The breath creates the space to relax and ground and just like bring that energy back in so that we can ground it out. Yesterday, I had a powerful video with a sister. We cleared some amazing energy. We worked together. It was so beautiful. Yesterday morning, I had a session with someone here at a local community, helping her with her body, and it was so beautiful. I just love helping people so much. So help people, help yourself, assist others. And one of the things I do is I ask, in my channel, how can I help? And I leave that question open. How can I help? And then these situations, these experiences, these opportunities will pop in front of me. And so it's just looking to see how to engage, because there is, only so much energy in a day. So balance and rest. And yes, Bryce, you're the first one I thought of to possibly go over there with me. And so, and a couple other people came into my mind too. I'll message you about the airport and timelines of going over there, and it's going to be phenomenal. I love you to the moon, family. Thank you for connecting. Thank you for your light and all that you do and the love that you share, because you are making a difference in this world, even if it's only your own.